Today I'll start with the next part of the video, that is opportunistic infections in HIV and kinetics of immune response shown by the host in HIV. But before that, we will begin with some questions. First, what are the two types of HIV virus that affect human? Can you name them? Okay, good. Now name its family and genus. What is its symmetry? Its symmetry is icosahedral. Okay, and what kind of nucleic material does it contain? It contains single stranded RNA. If you have answered this, very good. What are the 5 stages of disease progression? Try to answer for yourself. And next, the last question, opportunistic infection sets in which stage of disease progression? Okay, if you're able to answer all the 5, then it's well and good. If you're able to answer all of the questions, well and good. But if you're unable to answer them, first you should check for the last video that I posted on disease progression and introduction to HIV, and you will be able to answer all of them for sure. Now today we will begin with opportunistic infections. What comes under opportunistic infections and why are opportunistic infections such an important topic for us? Because these opportunistic infections come as a long question in the university exams and as a direct long question given in a clinical case scenario. Name the opportunistic infections that occur in HIV. And why does this occur? In a first we need to know, in a normal immunocompetent host, these infections do not occur usually, but in a immunosuppressed host like that of HIV affected patient, even a low virulence organism can cause opportunistic infections. Okay, now first we will begin with the infections that are caused due to bacteria. Now what are the infections caused? We are dividing it into under the 5 classes, and first we will see under bacteria. We see recurrent severe bacterial infection. The most common thing we see caused by bacteria is infections, so we see recurrent severe bacterial infections. Next is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, again another more common and that commonly occurs in India. Next is Salmonella, and next is Listeria, and next is recurrent septicemia. Now what does Salmonella cause? Salmonella causes enteric fever or typhoid. Okay, you need to remember this. These bacterial infections are really important. Next is viral. Viral, we have cytomegalovirus causing retinitis, herpes virus causing chronic HSV infection, and again we have Epstein-Barr virus which can cause infectious mononucleosis. The 3 of them I've mentioned here are very important. Other viral infections can also be there, but these 3 are very important. Next comes our fungal. For fungal infections, first of all, the very common infection we get to see is candidiasis, which can be oral as well as esophageal. Okay, next is our pneumocystis cerevisiae pneumonia. This is another very common pneumonia that is seen in cases of HIV infected patients. Next we have extrapulmonary cryptococcosis, mucormycosis, aspergillosis as well. Next we come to parasitic infections. In the parasitic infections we have infections caused by Toxoplasma gondii, that is causing meningitis, and as well as we have meningitis. We all know what meningitis is, and this is caused by Toxoplasma gondii. Next we have Cryptosporidium perfum hominis causing GIT infections, Cystoisospora belli, Cyclospora chiatinensis. If you can't remember anything, at least remember Toxoplasma gondii. Next we see certain types of neoplasias as well. What kind of neoplasias do we see? We see Kaposi's sarcoma, we see invasive cervical cancer, we see lymphoma, and nothing of this is caused by environmental or chemical stresses. Rather it is caused by the microbes affecting you or affecting the HIV infected patients. So the most important out of this is Kaposi's sarcoma. Okay, And another important infection which we can consider under the viral infections is parvovirus B19 infection. That is also very important infection that is seen in HIV infected patients. And in the others, we have HIV encephalopathy, we have symptomatic HIV associated nephropathy or cardiomyopathy. This is not much important, but the first 5 categories that I have stated, that is from the bacterial infections, the causing Mycobacterium tuberculosis or TB, then severe bacterial infections, then in case of virus, it's causing herpes virus, Epstein-Barr virus. I added parvovirus B19 infection, the fungal, candidiasis, oral and esophageal, pneumocystis cerevisiae pneumonia, as well as the parasitic infections are very important to remember. Okay, now we will be moving on to the very important graph which we can see here. As based on the CD4 cell count, we see the graph is declining. Why is the graph declining? The graph is declining because the CD4 cell count is declining. According to as time is passing by, the CD4 T cell count is decreasing. When it's 500 per millimeter cube, the CD4 T cell count, we are infected with bacterial skin infections, herpes virus infections, fungal infections. When it's 400, it's Kaposis sarcoma. When it's 300, it's hairy leukoplakia and TB. When it's 200, that is, it's falling, the CD4 cell count is falling to 200 per millimeter cube or microliters. We are infected with pneumocystis cerevisiae pneumonia, cryptococcosis, toxoplasmosis. Okay, and 50, when it comes down to from 200, we see a fall to 50. Now, what do we see there? We see Mycobacterium avium complex as well as CMV and lymphoma. Okay, so I did a trick here that's, I don't know how much useful it will be, but see, in the odd numbers we have infections caused due to bacteria. In 500 bacterial skin infections, 300 TB, and I didn't find any logic to relate here, so I had to use a mnemonic. Now it's up to you how will you remember this, but if you present this graph along with this chart, I think the answer will be very fulfilling. If it's a 5 marks question, I think 3.5 to 4 will be easily achieved in this question. So this was up to the opportunistic infections. Now we will go for the kinetics of immune response in HIV infection, which is another important topic, but you might skip it as I have not seen questions coming in university exams, but for interest or for knowing how the host immune response occurs, you can continue it. So now let's begin with kinetics of immune response in HIV infection. So first, what happens is the entry of virus. Next is transient high viral load. So I said yesterday that viral load in the blood, that is high viral load in the blood, is called viremia, and the first antigen that is increased in the blood is the P24 antigen. Okay, so both of this increase in blood. So first the entry of virus occurs, then what happens? Transient high viral load, because the virus starts multiplying with the host machinery, increasing the P24 antigen, also the virus particles. Okay, next what happens? Immunoglobulin appears. Immunoglobulin or antibodies appear against it after 3 to 12 weeks, which is called the window period. This is the window period of HIV infection where the antibodies have not appeared in between the 3rd and 12th weeks, and the antibodies appeared only after that. So we called it the window period. So what is window period? Answer it yourself now. Okay, now antibodies to P24 and P55 antigen are the first to appear after the window period. So first antigen we see is the P24 antigen. The first antibody we see after the window period is the P24 antigen as well as the P55. P24 antigen is a very important antigen to remember because it is as well has its importance in lab diagnosis of HIV as well. So P24 you need to remember. Okay, now next, among all immunoglobulins or antibodies, which is the long lasting? We know for every kind of infection the long lasting antibody is mostly the immunoglobulin G. The IgG is the consistent and long lasting antibody, and here there is no exception. So the IgG is detected in immunoassays like ELISA, like chemical luminescence immunoassay, etc. Now finally what happens? After the antibodies are formed, antigens are seen in the blood, viremia occurs. Finally there is lymphocytopenia. that is decrease in WBCs. There is a decrease in WBCs. There is T cell deficiency or T lymphocyte deficiency, where we see the T4:T8 ratio is inverted. There is polyclonal activation of B cell. Now, what is polyclonal activation of B cell? Different clones of B lymphocytes are getting activated. So what will happen? B cell is activating, so plasma cell will activate. If the plasma cell activates, then there will be formation of a lot of immunoglobulins that will result in hypergammaglobulinemia. So it's the large formation of antibodies. So it's hyper means high amount, gamma globulinemia means it's the formation of antibodies that is formed from plasma cells. And how are we getting so many plasma cells? From the B cells. Okay. Now we next have cytotoxic response by T8 cells. Why cytotoxic response by T8 cells? T8 cells are called the killer T cell. This killer T cell shows the cytotoxic response by killing the viral particles directly. So we call it the cytotoxic response. Next we see altered functioning of monocytes. Why? Monocytes are basically phagocytes, or monocytes will turn into macrophages, and that will cause phagocytosis. So there is a large viral load and they need to fight it. So therefore there will be much more synthesis of monocytes, and that will cause the altered functioning, because if there is anything in large production, then there will be altered functioning of them as well. Okay, last point, what is the clinical significance of window period? The HIV in window period can be detected by what? Can be detected by the P24 antigen. This P24 antigen is the one that appears in the window period, and that can be detected by 4th generation ELISA kit. This can be detected by the 4th generation ELISA kit. Okay, so this was about the kinetics of immune response in HIV infections as well as the opportunistic infections, where you definitely need to remember this graph as well as all this infections. And we also have the questions which you will get answered to if you follow the last video, and the notes will be uploaded in the description. Thank you.